Hey guys, Preston here. Hope everybody's having a good day. If you're familiar with my story, which most of you are, just a little quick background. I was a practicing physical therapist for about 10 years before I had decided to leave that realm and transition into the medical sales world. And I currently work for a medical device company now. And what I noticed through this process that I took into this realm is that there really weren't many resources out there for people like me, you know, coming from a clinical or professional background into medical device sales. And so what I really have tried to do is provide an opportunity for those that were like me and in similar situations that have been looking into medical device to know a little bit more about the industry, how to break in, and how to make the most of any opportunities. And so that's kind of what the role of this channel is. And what I try to do on this channel is come up with some videos of topics, things that I was interested in as I was going through the process that I wish would have been available to me, and also answering some questions that I get from viewers that are going through the process right now and they're wondering certain things that they haven't been able to find answers to elsewhere. So one of the biggest topics that I normally get asked to discuss and go over is going to be probably a big hit today, and that is, you know, how do you go about landing a position as a medical device sales rep and kind of quote unquote breaking into the industry. Well, I'll kind of give you a little background on my story. So I was working, like I said, almost 10 years as a physical therapist, and when I got the last probably about 2 years of my practice, I knew that you know, as much of a difference as I knew I was making in the lives of my patients, I knew it just wasn't going to be something that I was going to sustain with long term. I was getting very burnt out. And so at that point I started, you know, looking more into the medical device world, because I said, you know, I always am going to have a passion for helping patients. I'm always going to have a passion for healthcare. It's just not in the clinical role, you know, that I'm in, or that I was in at that time. And so I said, you know, I really like the idea of a medical device rep because I get to stay within, you know, the field of medicine, but I get to provide, you know, an impact on a larger scale than I did just providing, you know, one-on-one treatments as a physical therapist. And so as I started looking around, you know, the first thing I did is what a lot of people do, which is, you know, looked in your immediate network, right? So do I know anyone personally that is a device rep? And for me, I did, but it wasn't a very close friend. Him and I were, you know, we went to high school together, and he was working for a pretty large medical device company in orthopedics or sports medicine, and great guy. And so I reached out to him and I said, you know, hey man, you know, I'm looking to do this and kind of make this transition. Do you have any advice for me? And so, you know, he'd give me a few pieces of advice about, you know, just how to beef up my resume and some things that, you know, I'm going to pass along to you all as well in the near future. But then, you know, I asked him, I said, do you know of any opportunities that are coming about or that are currently out there now? And there actually was one on his team. And so I was fortunate enough to have him, you know, reach out to his manager and try to help me along the process of at least just getting my resume looked at. And so went through that process. His manager reached out to me. We had set up kind of an initial meeting and an interview, and you know, it was all set up for about 1 to 2 weeks after we had initially had our email communication back and forth. So during that time I really started looking more into the company, and I won't share that company just, you know, because I think the premise is the same without the specifics, but I started looking more into the company and trying to figure out, obviously as you would before any interview, more and more about them. And man, believe it or not, about 3 days before I was set to talk with him and have a formal interview, I actually sent him an email and I canceled the whole thing. I had spent months and months and months looking for an opportunity, and one was finally there, and I was going to be able to, you know, put my best foot forward, and I ended up canceling it. And at the time when I canceled, I said to myself, you know, what am I doing, right? And what it really came down to was the culture and the fit. And the more that I had learned about this company in particular and the position that I was going to be in, you know, I just said to myself, I'm looking at the short game here. I'm not looking at the long game, right? And where I'm trying to go and sustain a whole new career. And so as I was honest with myself in that capacity, I said, you know what, this isn't the right one. This isn't the right fit for me, to no one's fault. And had that opportunity come to me 6 months before it did, I don't think I would have cared. I think I would have just gone, you know, with it. just because I don't think I had thought things through enough. But the reason I bring this point up is an important one, and that's because, if you're like me and you're a clinician of any sort, I don't care if you're a PT, OT, speech therapist, you are an RN, you are a CNA, you are a PA, NP, anybody, right? If you're a clinician, you don't want to be jumping at the first opportunity if it's not the right one, right? That's what you do when you're 22, 23, 24, 25, and you're just trying to literally just get a job. But for us, we have careers and we have licenses and we went to school for a long time and we are already caring for patients, right? And so if you're gonna make this jump, you need to make sure first and foremost that it's the right fit for you. And fit can mean schedule, it can mean culture, right? It can mean who's your boss and who are you reporting to. It can mean products and division, and do you have passion for that? There's a lot of things that go into that, but I think for us in particular, I just don't think it's right that we jump at the first opportunity, because I think when we do that, we're selling ourselves short of who we really are and the experience and the background that we have coming into one of these roles. So that's one of the reasons I share that, initial tidbit. But the second reason is because, after I had said no to this interview and I had kind of gone back to the drawing board, what I really had to leverage at that point, after my complete inner circle was kind of tapped out, was LinkedIn. And I think as medical professionals and providers, we completely underutilize LinkedIn as a professional network. I had made an account years ago as a PT, but I had never really gone on there. I had never really updated my information and all of that. But it's amazing how in the greater business world, LinkedIn is such an avenue for people to come across opportunities. And so my first tip to you all watching this video, I guess second tip, would be get a LinkedIn account if you don't already have one. And if you do have one already, make sure that LinkedIn account is updated. That needs to be something, sorry, trying to get the sun off me here. That needs to be something that you really leverage, because that's how you grow your network of contacts, in the sense of, even though this friend of mine, this acquaintance of mine that had a position available, even though it didn't work out with his team and in that position, I was able to leverage other pieces of who he knew in different companies, different divisions, and all that sort of thing to grow my network of contacts. And that is huge, because we all know that it's who you know that makes a difference, right? But I'm telling you right now, in the medical device world, it is who you know. That is the only thing that matters, because you are going to have to land the job yourself, but you will never get in a position to even sniff the job if you don't know someone that's affiliated with that role. There's going to be outliers to that, of course. There's going to be a small startup that someone gets an amazing opportunity at. There's going to be a large company that really needs to fill a need and someone was able to get in without knowing anyone or being an internal referral. But I'm telling you right now, that does not happen very often. So if you're not leveraging your network, and there's people in your network that you don't even know that are in your network, and LinkedIn is great for that because it gives you second and third connections, man, you are really missing opportunities. So one of the best pieces of advice that I came across as I was going through my process is, I was listening to a few podcasts and someone had recommended that every week they reached out to a minimum of 10 people on LinkedIn, complete strangers that they didn't know, that were either a part of their network based on someone they did know, or they were someone that came up within a just LinkedIn search for medical device sales rep. And they reach out to at least 10, but there are people that I know that have reached out to at least 50 to 100 a week on LinkedIn. And all they're trying to do is just connect. And they're trying to connect, share with what their hopes are in terms of where they're trying to go and opportunities they're looking for, and basically just being on the forefront of people's minds as it comes to job openings. Because the people that are going to have the first idea of a job opening is someone who's in a position where one of their teammates is leaving, resigning, changing jobs, whatever it is. They're going to know of that opening. And if they can be a referral for you to their hiring manager, most often they're going to get a bonus for that. They're going to get some sort of compensation. But two, they're going to think about the people that are last on their brain, right? The people that are, were most recently communicating with them. So it's huge to, leverage that relationship. And unfortunately, you have to do that. And this is the sales world to a T, right? You have to reach out to 50 people, to 100 people to just get 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 to even even give you any time of day, right? Maybe 10 give you the time of day, and 2 actually get you somewhere in terms of building your network or your relationships. So it's just a lot of points of contact, and I think LinkedIn is huge for that. And to take that a step further, I think in our realm as well as clinicians and providers, one of the things that I did to help myself was that I didn't just look for medical device sales reps on LinkedIn. I looked specifically for med device sales reps that had backgrounds in physical therapy, nursing, occupational therapy, right? I looked for people that were like me and that were looking for opportunities like I was looking for to leave the clinical treating space and get into the device sales world. Because I'll be honest with you, if somebody reaches out to me on LinkedIn, and people have, even already, I am much more apt to respond and interact with people that kind of are my kind, so to speak, right? They came from the same cut that I did, and so whether that's a rehab science or a PA, whoever it is, I'm more apt to respond to those folks because I kind of see myself in them. And I know what it was like going through that process and how little support I felt like I had and how much I had to kind of rely on my network that I was building to get where I was trying to go. So that's a tip I have for you, is that, not only leverage your LinkedIn network, but also think about really pinpointing those people like me and others who have kind of blazed the trail before you. And we left those clinical treating spaces and now are in the medical device, sales world. I think that would be a big tip and a big, positive for you as you're seeking out opportunities. Lastly, I would say, as you are looking into these roles, never burn a bridge, right? When things don't work out or an opportunity doesn't come like maybe you thought it would, or someone says, man, like we're never hiring because our team is so tenured and we don't have people leave. That was my position, right? And then something opened up, a position opened up, and I was there waiting in the wings. And I think, being courageously curious, asking questions about people's teams, divisions, companies, that goes a long way, where you're actually showing true interest in either those reps' experiences or the company and what their division stands for, the products they use. I think all that stuff goes a really long way. And so that's another way you can just set yourself apart, is that once you get these connections and you start meeting these people, I have no problem getting on the phone and talking with people and kind of sharing my story and talking about other folks' as their desires and their aspirations. I have no problem doing that, and a lot of people are like that. But come prepared and come with a true, genuine interest to learn more, not only about that person, but also about their experience and their company and, like I said, their products and all those things, because you just never know when that opportunity is going to come about. And I swear, I feel like it's always when you least expect it, right? If you would ask me 2 years ago how I would have gotten into medical device, I would have told you that it would have been through my friend and his company or the company he was with and the position that was open. And you fast forward a year and that's absolutely not what has happened. But I couldn't be happier with where I am now, and I put a lot of that towards the connections that I made and the research and due diligence I did in those days to learn as much as I could and just be courageously curious. So I hope this helps. As always, reach out to me if you have any specific questions. I'd love to hear comments. If you want to share those, if you're watching this on YouTube, share those in the comments box below. But I think the hardest part for anyone getting into, or in the medical device world, is getting in. And I think we have a very big leg up as clinicians because we have a lot of good experience that not a lot of others have, but that only goes so far as if you can get into an actual interview and you can get in front of the right people. So like I said, I hope you can use some of the resources I'm sharing as far as resume building and how to stand out, with a clinical background, but also once you get in that position of how to make the most of it with that hiring manager that you're with. So we'll talk more. There's always more to go over, but I hope this is helpful for today. Go out and make it a great day, everybody. Thank you.